Always ready. Triple threat position. Sixers Talk podcast. Ready to dribble, pass, shoot. We are ready.
That's the triple threat. You were moving around too much.
I was trying to fake out the defender. You're guard. You're right across from me, so you're the one guarding me. Lay up. All right. I'm sorry. Welcome to the Sixers Talk podcast. We're trying to find some fun here and all this doom and gloom that's surrounding this Sixers team. I gotta be honest, guys. I haven't been looking forward to doing this podcast. Because you think about it, there's been one game in between the last podcast, but the cavalcade, the cascade, the amount, the plethora of stuff.
It's an avalanche, Daniel.
Yes,
it's an avalanche.
That is the word. That is the word. Noah Levick, Amy Fadul, Danny Palmels, Ben Berry, the day off, our producer, Spencer McKercher, a.k.a. the Cobra, helping us make things happen here behind the scenes. And let's just start with the latest update. Noah, Amy and I were kind of divided doing our own thing, but can you tell us what the latest is on Paul George after he once again hyperextended his left knee in the loss to the Grizzlies?
Yeah, so the official word as of a few minutes ago from the Sixers is that Paul George had an MRI on that knee that showed no structural damage, so that's a plus, but he'll be out for at least the next 2 games with a left knee bone bruise, exact same injury that he suffered during the preseason, and then be reevaluated on Monday. And the play itself did look very similar to the preseason injury where he just took that awkward step early in the third quarter of the Sixers' loss to the Grizzlies and clearly wasn't right. Immediately recognized that he had to get out of that game. So not the worst case scenario. And the Sixers have, I think, become very familiar with appallingly bad outcomes this season, but they will be without Paul George for a Friday against Brooklyn and then Sunday against the Clippers. So very, very little action thus far with the Sixers' big 3 and more waiting required until we next see that trio together again.
Amy, we didn't even get 6 minutes.
Nope.
Didn't even get 6 minutes of the 3 of them on the floor together.
Nope.
You like to say that you can't have nice things.
We can't even have one nice thing.
I think the quote last night you used on post game that it's getting late early.
It is
that is
one
of your
early.
favorites. And man, I
and you feel it, don't you? 2-12.
Yeah.
So here's what I put out there, and I know I think we've brought it up before. So let's say playoffs, not play-in tournament. Let's say playoffs to get that 6th seed. What are you looking at? Like 45 games, probably. Do you have to win? They have 2. There are 68 games left. Are you confident they'll win 43 more games in those 68? That's where you're at right now.
Right.
If you're looking for play-in tournament, last year I think the 10th seed had like 37 wins. So you're looking for 35 wins.
Wait, I thought this was a championship contending season.
Daniel.
Are we talking about play-in tournament right now? What?
Last night, Coach Lynham said, off air, he said something about Nick Nurse is just playing the cards he's dealt. And I said, the cards he's been dealt are like 1 Go Fish card, an Uno card, and a 2 of hearts. That's his hand right now.
Together. They don't even coincide.
It's like they found a bunch of cards and they gave it to him and said, here. And he's like, great. I can't do anything with this. He can play like, some kind of weird version of blackjack maybe, and that's about it. So I don't know. We're grasping at straws. You got to win. I'm thinking maybe 35 more games in the next 68. So you have to win you have to finish above 500 in your final 68 games if you want to try to make any kind of, if you want to play one more game after the 82. How about that? You feel confident, Daniel?
No, I don't feel confident.
Perfect. That's where we're at right now.
I'm going to be honest. And I was reading Noah's article on NBC Sports Philadelphia.com, and a beautiful headline: dreadful free-falling Sixers now need to defy gravity.
That's a great headline. So Noah, did you write that headline?
I did write that headline.
That's a beautiful headline. Because sometimes people write, there's headline people. I don't know how it works.
Made me think.
Great headline.
Who's falling quicker, the Sixers or Jay Leno down the hill? That's what really resonated with me.
Did you see him?
It
looked like he went 5 rounds with like whomever.
There's no way he fell down the hill. You have some scratches. Yeah.
That's the scratches made sense. Just the sheer amount of like bruising.
His eye was like, and he said it was like all the way down.
What are you doing?
What are you staying at a Hampton Inn for? He's got millions of dollars. He's staying at the
maybe he's frugal.
Oh man, but
how excited were you to get the Jay Leno in there?
I was so excited because
tell.
I love when I read something and it makes me think of an idea. So I was like halfway through Noah's article.
I wonder how many of our listeners follow you on Instagram and know how weird your social media presence is. Please do yourself a favor and follow D. Pomels because it's amazing. The stuff he finds on the internet, I don't know where he finds it, but it's the deep, dark recesses of the ocean, and that's where he finds it. And usually he posts about the ocean, the blobfish.
I'm so glad we are laughing because
we have to.
I was dreaded doing this podcast. I was just like, I can't continue to talk about the futility. It wears on me, Noah. It just so much.
Noah, why don't you weigh in? Do you think they'll win 35 more? I think the 37, I feel like 37 wins would get you into the play-in tournament. That's where we're at of an 82-game season, 37. So do you think they can win 35 more games in the next 68?
I think I'll say yes, but with like as little confidence as I can give a yes. Definitely, I mean, I think you raise the right parameters for a top 6 spot, and I'm not giving a yes to that right now. Just doesn't look like there's anything dependable about their style of play. Like that, there's so much that
so bad.
The shooting is so bad, and maybe that'll bounce back to a more normal level, but they don't really do anything well right now, dependably. They're aggressive defensively. They do force turnovers at a good rate, but they also tend to give up a lot of free throws, tend to give up a lot of open 3-point shots. 2 high-level shooters, like you saw Luke Kennard hit a couple wide open threes. I mean, he's at the very top of the scouting report as the guy you don't allow to do that. So there's just so much that needs to dramatically improve. And yeah, maybe it even comes across as optimistic to foresee, a 37-win season in this team's future. But yeah, trying to forecast, I'll say that maybe they just about get there, and that the doom and gloom at some stage becomes a little less dark. But yeah, it is as dark as it's ever been right now for the Sixers in recent memory, and we're looking at process sort of records right now. 2-12, worst record in the NBA, worst offensive rating in the league. They're a bad rebound.
Top of the tankathon. They are the first team on the tankathon.
Yeah. What are you tanking for with that salary?
They have the worst record. You have to put them at the top of the
people
tankathon.
Already started talking about who they're tanking for. I know our producer Cobra talks all about it. Cooper Flag, blah blah blah. Cooper Flag needs a little bit more conditioning.
But that's the crazy thing.
IV fluids.
That's the crazy thing about the Sixers is that if you think about the rebuild and what they're trying to accomplish and trying to be a contender and have the sustained success like the Golden State Warriors or the Denver Nuggets have been successful over several seasons, it's like they've had the top draft picks. They've signed big free agents, maybe a little past their prime, maybe aging stars, but they've had a lot of the things that teams need in order to build a successful squad. Yet seems to be something that just trips them up or just doesn't quite come together like you expect. And I don't know, man, you go into the off season with this blank slate of opportunity and a roster that you can fill out, and Daryl Morey pulls it off with some veterans and drafts well, and Jared McCain, we didn't even talk about him yet, and you sign Paul George, the top free agent, but yet it just something just kind of whittles in between all of this good stuff to kind of bring them to where we are now. And yeah, it's a weird confluence of things that aren't necessarily connected, but we heard Nick Nurse talk about the team shooting woes after the Miami game, and he said that he felt like he named some intangible things like focus and things like that he felt like the team could do better on that might translate to the better shooting. But even Tyrese Maxey, a guy you would think would be lights out, yeah, he's had the hamstring injury, which you could say was from overuse, but his numbers are awful. It's just tough. Even when Joel Embiid comes out and has his best performance, 35 points, albeit in a loss to the Grizzlies, double-digit rebounds, they lose Paul George. They can't pull out the win down the stretch when they have a chance to get the victory. It just is a tough right now. You can't be a Sixers fan right now wearing your gear you don't have anything to go at another team with. You can't even like defend your squad with, oh, we'll get it together. Like, it's just a difficult time to be a Sixers fan. But take some positives away from last night's game. What do we see? Gershon Yabusele, Jared McCain.
You saw full Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Okay.
Start to finish. Let's go back to the Magic game. First half, Joel Embiid, great. Second half Magic game, Joel Embiid was a 0. He went 0 for 7. It was awful. It's like he just.
And he tried to get away with saying that, oh, I can be more aggressive. I thought that was great that you and Mark Jackson did on pregame with him, Joel saying
he says he can do it.
He says, oh, I can be more aggressive and I'll get out there. Mark's like, no, you can't be more aggressive because these are the areas where you're not quite doing the footwork things.
We literally saw it.
Positioning things.
But it was much better.
Yeah.
Didn't you think it was much? I mean, the Heat game, not great. But I thought this was much better start to finish. The Heat game, he played 31 minutes and didn't shoot a free throw. He's never done that in his entire career. It was bizarro world. And then you're looking at 14 for 14. I thought that for me, that was like, so I know it's hard. He was at a loss, but there were some positives there for me. Noah?
Yeah. I think he did it way back in 2018, but extremely, extremely rare and very telling because that's like consistently been what he's better at than anyone in the NBA. So he needs to get to the foul line. He needs to be forceful. Needs to be willing to like go at defenders. And yeah, I thought it was encouraging that he at least was willing to play the game in that manner early. The mid-range jumper started dropping and looking pure. I thought he did well at times as a short roll guy, as a pick and roll guy even. So yeah, and I think also the fact that he played the entire third quarter suggests that his conditioning is better than it was a week or two ago, as you would certainly hope by this point. So yeah, and I think just like there were moments where you really saw his frustration and his disgust, and you know that you can have your own preferences about a player or leader's body language, but I think at a minimum it showed that he was very engaged. And he was really ticked off that they didn't win that game, despite him playing his best one of the season thus far. So, yeah, I think we can legitimately point to that as a positive, albeit one that Embiid's not going to care very much about because right now he's on a 2-12 team. And speaking of rare, like, you know, they have yet to win when he's played. And for so long, the norm for the Sixers is his presence alone makes them an excellent team. And that's just not the case right now. But I think, yeah, last night, if he continues moving in that direction, suggests to us that Joel Embiid being available should at least make the Sixers a competitive team. I think you would assume as much based on the extensive track record. And the reality is, yeah, that he can get you double-digit free throws and over 30 points pretty much every single time he's out there. Based on what he's shown thus far in his career.
Yeah, so positive. Gershon Yabusele, great positive. 5 threes. Jared McCain, positive.
Another 20-point performance.
6 straight.
Yeah.
But 7 straight with over 18. Like he's big. I mean,
revelation.
Big time draft steal right now. He was the 16th pick in this draft. And like you still look at the turnover rate numbers. It's well above average for an NBA guard, let alone a rookie guard. Continues to impress me with some nice passes. I think he had a team high 5 assists last night, including a really slick one. I believe no look to Yabusele in the open court. Like he's someone that is just playing with some energy and some fun, despite the team not feeling that way whatsoever. So yeah, like we don't want to excessively stress the positives. The reality right now is extremely negative, but yeah, I think those 3 players were clearly the Sixers' best last night, and it's a darn shame that pretty much everyone else was pretty bad and not good enough to beat a Grizzlies team that was shorthanded. You know, without
Ja Morant.
That was a win they should have had.
They're 4-4 without Ja Morant, though. BT Dub.
Yeah, but no Zach Edey.
Yeah, no Zach Edey.
No Marcus Smart. No Vince Williams. Like the Sixers were healthier than the Memphis Grizzlies and trailed this game by 20 points at one point. Yes, there was at least a last-ditch comeback effort and a sense of desperation late in the game, but Sixers played very poorly, and were really unfocused and undisciplined for much of this game defensively, and it ultimately cost them and leads them to come back home after yet another 0-3 road trip.
Yeah, man, and we will get to some more of that and a lot to talk about. As I mentioned, Paul George, among other things that he said on this podcast, mentioned that there's no way that they can be a great team with Jared McCain as their best player.
I get what he's saying, but get on the court. Say it from the court.
Yeah,
I get what he's saying, because it's like, oh, something's gone wrong if this rookie is your most consistent player. Stop it, though.
He's been out there, though, and just hasn't been.
Has he?
I mean, he's been out there enough to make an impact.
He made an impact in one game, Paul George.
I said this on last podcast, like, we've seen superstars carry teams and when they needed it. We've seen Joel Embiid do it. We've seen other superstars do it. There just hasn't been a moment like that. Noah outlined the game where he hit the 7 threes, and that was a great game for him, but has it translated to a win? You know what I'm saying? And it's just difficult to be in this situation where winning is what matters right now. And that will be the thing that will kind of shake off some of this, what's going on. And, they play several teams who have been depleted, who've had stars out, who they should have.
That Raptors team had 8 people
who they should have been able to run with. And they've had circumstances and situations where they could have won games late. Last night's game, Embiid throws the ball out of bounds after some tough, lucky bounces that went their way. And Embiid, you could say it's just a little bit of the rust and not having quite a feel for the game. This is crunch time late in the game, fourth quarter. You're tired. Your body's not quite responding like it should be because of the fatigue. And maybe that was the cause of why Embiid didn't quite have the handle on the ball there late in the game.
Do you think it was a pass?
Well, Oubre was like cutting to the basket.
It kind of looked like a pass to me.
I feel like he had been so aggressive, though. Why not continue to be aggressive?
I get it. It's just I don't know why it felt like a pass. No, was it a pass?
Yeah, I saw it the same way. I think Oubre started to cut, and Embiid didn't expect him to cut, and the ball ended up out of bounds as a result. But yeah, I think I agree there. Like, just you've been the most dominant player. Just find a way to get a shot off for yourself there. I mean, the Sixers put themselves in a spot where they had to be absolutely perfect. They needed
You can't
Memphis to make a lot. They needed Memphis to like shoot themselves in the foot a lot, which honestly the Grizzlies did. Turned it over 20 times and were pretty shaky down the stretch. But yeah, another spot where they at least were in it in the final minute and didn't get that heroic play or two from a star that you need to pull off something miraculous in that kind of situation.
Hey, let's take a quick break and show some love to our title sponsor, Wilmington University. Get to know Wilmington University at its virtual open house on Wednesday, December 4th. Details at wilmu.edu/open house. Celebrity cook Steve Martirano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and much more. Make reservations for Martirano's Prime on Open Table. We finished the podcast on Tuesday. Right after the podcast is over, well, first of all, like the Sixers and this whole post-game discussion and coming out of the locker room, like, okay, they had a team meeting after the Miami game, which is why we didn't quite hear from anyone.
You didn't hear from anybody. We were on post game for 45 minutes waiting for Nick Nurse.
Yeah,
never came out.
Similar, and
he eventually did. But
I hate. And then last night after the Grizzlies game, I hate when stuff like this happens.
Yeah,
like I didn't probably leave here until like between 12 and 1 a.m. I wake up the next morning to see quotes from Joel Embiid in the next morning.
Yeah,
like
it was like 1:30 in the morning or something.
You don't hear him after the game, but he was pretty upset. They had the team meeting. We found out after we taped the last podcast from Shams Charania the details of that meeting, and that has caused a ripple effect through the 76ers organization. I kind of tabled the podcast piece stuff because Paul George said that about Jared McCain and he can't be our best player. He also, in that podcast, mentioned that because the circumstances and the discussion that went on in the meeting leaked out, he said it just negates all of the goodwill and energy we had with each other, holding each other accountable, saying we're going to move forward in a positive direction, and all the things that came out of the meeting. Joel Embiid called that person a piece of sugar honey iced tea. Who ever leaked what happened with
Hold up.
What?
I have never heard that before.
You can use it.
Yes, it did. As soon as he started saying it, said,
it works. Universal. But I
steal that.
But some ripple effects.
Yeah.
For sure. From the meeting itself, from the fact that it leaked out. Again, this is a team meeting. This is only the players and the coaches. These are the people, I think the words were used, that we go to war with. So how did that get out? Not quite sure, but at the same time, it got out there. Tyrese Maxey was trying to hold Joel Embiid accountable. I'm sure it came from a place of love. And
yeah, because they've kind of like downplayed that part. Joel basically said, like, listen, that part with Tyrese, he said, was like 30 seconds. And then I saw Lou Will was on, and he said he talked to him. And these guys, obviously, they know what it's like in a locker room. They know how some of these meetings can be more contentious. And I imagine Tyrese, because of his great relationship with Joel Embiid, and they are, I think, good friends, he probably felt like he could say something. And I'm sure it wasn't said in a, point your finger
about
type.
Joel being late to a lot of
activities and other things. And then, of course, I saw Pat Bev talk about it. He goes, one time Joel was late and then he dropped 50, whatever. But I'm sure there was a lot of things discussed, not just Joel Embiid related, just in general related, because as they mentioned, these are the guys you're going to war with. Some people have a problem with it being leaked. Other people might not. In this day and age, it's hard to believe anything. I don't want to use the word sacred because I feel like that's too strong, but it's hard to believe that the locker room would really be this kind of, isolation Fort Knox.
Why would they let it leak? Like, what would be the intention? Like, when you try to, that could be a much longer discussion.
Yeah. You could garner favor with whomever. You could try to feel self-important. You know what I mean? Like, I've got the inside scoop. Yeah, maybe you're putting the pressure on him. I don't know. Like, I've seen everything from, tinfoil hat type of people, like, oh, it's, it's a veteran who was not there before and is trying to hold Joel Embiid accountable. And like, I don't know. Who knows who it was? But I'm not as interested in who it was so much as the fact that you get one of these. Mm-hmm. You can't be the team that has all these team meetings, right? Like, the boy who cried wolf, he wasn't believed because he kept doing it. And so if you keep having team meetings, that kind of like
waters
idea
down the whole
so
idea of...
it is disappointing that if they feel like any kind of message has now not been received. I don't know. No, you're around this team a lot at practice. They seem to be a tight-knit group. They seem to be a group that could, call each other on the carpet, so to speak, and be okay with it. But maybe somebody wasn't okay with it. And that's how it got out there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that you only get one of these bullets to fire or whatever. Like, I think on many teams, honestly, there's a culture fostered where you are blunt with each other and you say what needs to be said. Like, I think back to, I believe it was the 21-22 season, the Sixers started 0-3, had a bad loss at home to the Spurs. And Doc Rivers told us all that PJ Tucker was yelling at guys in the locker room and having some of those frank conversations. So, and I think that stuff is pretty regular in many spots in the NBA. I think everyone has different leadership styles. Some people prefer to have those conversations one-on-one. Some people like to air it all out in the open. I know Kyle Lowry, who Shams Charania reported, prompted this meeting, has always been about covering whatever needs to be covered in terms of team habits and team culture. And I think the Sixers had very obviously gotten to a point where it was logical to acknowledge that the team was in a problematic situation and that things needed to change in a dramatic way. But yeah, not ideal if the star player of the team is openly pissed off that the details in this meeting were leaked. Mm-hmm. So it is what it is in that regard. But I got to think, the actual closed door discussion is more important than whatever subsequent fallout may happen in terms of the reporting on it. And just as far as Joel Embiid being told that his habits need to improve, I think in terms of the Sixers feeling like they've got dependable leadership, Embiid has often not provided that, both through factors within his control and factors outside of his control. we think about so many years, just the norm is that he's a game time decision and no one really knows if he's going to play. And that does feel largely symbolic of kind of how he's been as this team's superstar. When he's out there, you can usually count on dominance and him being one of the best big men and best players in the entire world, but had some unfortunate health problems. And then I think also just his personality and his style has not been one where the Sixers often feel sure that he's going to be out there and going to conduct himself like in the way that they want of their best player. So very messy, and I think kind of inevitable that we reach this sort of point, and we'll see where it goes from there. But that's kind of my take on it. Like, I don't think the fact that there was a meeting itself is at all negative. I think the situation is like self-evidently alarming, and when that's the case, you should be meeting, and there should be a lot of tension and a lot of scrutiny of exactly how to improve a problem that has become very urgent. The fact being, they're the worst team in the NBA right now in terms of record.
Listen, Thanksgiving is next week. Will Sixers fans be giving thanks for another win on this schedule? We got 3 games: Nets, Clippers, Rockets, all at home.
Yep. How many wins do they have before December 1st?
Oh, is that we're going all the way to December 1st?
December 1st. That gets you through the Pistons game. You got 4 more games.
Yeah, 4 games.
2 wins. What is their record, Daniel, on December 1st?
Oh, I thought you were saying 2 wins in that 4. I was like, oh, damn. Okay, Amy going out on a limb. Listen.
They could get 2 wins.
0. They will have none. They won't win another game before December 1st. That's what I believe. Okay.
Stop it.
You want the truth?
Stop
you can't handle the truth. Okay?
Stop it. Okay, Jack. Listen here. That is not the Daniel I know and love. Sure, they can. They're like an 7.5 point favorite.
I'm going to say 1 win. They'll beat Brooklyn.
Oh, man. Okay. I think they win 2.
Rockets is the other one?
Sure.
Okay.
Rockets or the Pistons. I don't know which one.
What are you holding back your laugh for? You don't even believe that. She doesn't even believe it, Noah.
2. They've got the Nets.
Yes.
They've got the Clippers. They've got the Rockets, and they got the Pistons.
We saw the Pistons beat them in here. Out athletic them and everything. They were way better than them.
I love that. That's one of my favorite made up words, out athleted, because we all know what it means, but it's not a real word. So I'm going to go with 2. So what you got with tiny basketball in your hand? Noah, how many?
What do you think?
How many?
Yeah, I was split between 1 and 2. For me, a lot of it is just what's the deal
over
here?
Under 1 would be the
yeah, 1.5 or I don't know, but Tyrese Maxey only played 20 minutes last night.
Yeah, that wasn't
good. I think there was obviously a case to be made that maybe you just wait until Friday and have him at a higher minutes level for that game. So how gradual is his ramp up going to be, and is he going to start hitting the shots we're accustomed to him making? I think much of this season thus far has defied expectations in the worst possible way. So I don't know. Like, if I'm stuck between 1 and 2, I probably shouldn't go with 2. I guess I'll say
I probably shouldn't go with 2.
We have really gone wrong when Noah is just it's very dark.
Yes. He is the leveler. He keeps us on point.
I'll say 1. I'll say 1 and 3.
Say 1. So they would be 3 and 15.
They would be 3 and 15. I mean, I can definitely see Joel Embiid playing quite well in 3 out of 4 of those games, and one of these games, the role players hitting open shots. Maybe 1 or 2 of these games, guys like Ricky Council, KJ Martin getting extended opportunities out of a sense of desperation, and those guys performing well. So we'll say 1 and 3. All outcomes are on the table. Who the heck knows with this basketball team? But it just wouldn't feel appropriate for me to have anything that would sound optimistic if we're talking about a forecast. So I will say 1 and 3, and you would think they'll be able to beat Brooklyn. I guess the line suggests as much. So maybe it'll come right off the bat here.
Guys,
3-15. That's what you guys think.
There have been 14 games. We played the song twice. In 14 games.
They were both overtime too.
I don't even know if the process. I don't feel like it was that bad.
That's one of the first times it started, because it was like a joke. I would play it in the newsroom, and only got to play it, a handful of times.
My God.
Derek Gunn used to hate that song when I played it.
Shout out Derek Gunn. He has no mustache nowadays. I'm disappointed in that.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta go. So does Amy. A lot of love to everyone out there.
So does Noah. He's got
listening.
stuff to do.
He's already got an article on the website. Everybody should read.
He doesn't stop at one. He has like 15. He turns out content.
Check it out. NBC Sports Philadelphia.com. Dreadful free falling Sixers now need to defy gravity.
It's good alliteration there. Yeah. Excellent. Well done.
So on point. Check it out. Noah Levick, NBC Sports Philadelphia.com.
We'll see you when they have one more win, everyone. Maybe
man.
2. Who
Just
knows?
Some type of momentum, man, would be great. But thank you for hanging in there with us, listening, watching the Sixers Talk podcast. For Spencer McKercher, Noah Levick, Amy Fadul, I'm Danny Pomels. We're brought to you by Wilmington University. We'll see you next time.